Sir, step away from the vehicle. I'm a doctor. I have surgery in 15 minutes. I don't care what you say you are. Step back now.
Wednesday morning, 6:45 a.m., Dr. Marcus Hayes, 58 years old, chief of surgery, stood in handcuffs at the parking spot that bore his name. A 12-year-old child lay prepped in operating room 7, waiting for the surgeon who couldn't reach him. Officer Randall Cooper had refused to verify Hayes's credentials, refused to call the hospital, refused to check the badge, the ID, the parking sign with Hayes's name in bold letters. 18 minutes later, Cooper would realize his mistake. $3.8 million, career destroyed, federal investigation. But the question nobody could answer, why didn't Cooper just make the call? And the question that haunted Hayes, what happened to the child on his table? If you're watching from a hospital parking lot right now, hit subscribe. We cover the stories the system tries to bury. 6:45 a.m., parking garage level 3. Dr. Marcus Hayes pulled his black Lexus into the spot he'd occupied it for 8 years. The sign above read, Dr. Marcus Hayes, Chief of Surgery. His license plate MD-001, Medical Doctor Number 1. Officer Randall Cooper watched from 30 feet away. Black man, expensive car, nice clothes, doesn't belong here. He approached. Hayes stepped out, hospital scrubs visible under his jacket, ID badge clipped to his chest. Cooper stopped 3 feet from him. Sir, can I see some identification? Hayes pointed to the sign above his parking spot. His name, his title, impossible to miss. Anyone can park anywhere, Cooper said. Hayes unclipped his badge. Photo ID, Dr. Marcus Hayes, Chief of Surgery. Signature of the hospital director across the bottom. Cooper examined it with visible skepticism. IDs can be faked. This badge is registered with the hospital security system. Call your dispatch. They'll confirm in 10 seconds. I'll determine what needs to be confirmed. 2 nurses emerged from the stairwell, white scrubs, end-of-shift exhaustion on their faces. One saw Hayes and smiled. Good morning, Dr. Hayes. The other nurse stopped. Dr. Hayes, what's going on? Cooper turned toward them. Ma'am, step back. This doesn't concern you. That's Dr. Hayes. He's our chief of surgery. Step back now. The nurses exchanged glances but moved away. One pulled out her phone. 4 cameras mounted on the garage ceiling recorded every angle. Martinez, Cooper's backup, had activated his body cam. 3 witness phones rose into the air. Everything that happened next was documented. Hayes kept his voice level. 34 years in medicine had taught him that calm defeated chaos. Officer, I have a 12-year-old patient in operating room 7. He's prepped for emergency surgery. Call the hospital director. This takes 30 seconds. Cooper's hand moved to his radio. I don't take orders from you. I'm not giving orders. I'm asking you to verify my credentials through official channels. That's standard procedure. Cooper keyed his radio. Unit 12, I need backup at parking level 3. Copy that and wrote. Hayes looked at Cooper's name badge. Officer Cooper, my badge is registered in your system. I swiped in at 6:43 a.m. Your dispatch can confirm. My vehicle is registered to this hospital. The parking sign has my name. What more do you need? I need you to comply with my investigation. Investigation of what? Suspicious activity. What suspicious activity? Cooper didn't answer. The stairwell door opened. Officer Martinez stepped through, the younger uncertain. His body cam activated automatically when he unclipped it from his belt. The red recording light blinked on. What's the situation? Martinez asked. Cooper gestured toward Hayes. Subject refuses to provide adequate identification. Hayes turned to Martinez. Officer, I'm Dr. Marcus Hayes, Chief of Surgery at this hospital. I showed Officer Cooper my hospital ID badge, which he dismissed as potentially fake. I pointed to my assigned parking spot with my name on it. I offered verification through hospital dispatch. He refused all of it. Martinez looked at the parking sign, at the badge still in Hayes' hand, at the license plate MD-001. Randall, maybe we should... I'll handle this. The two nurses hadn't left. They stood near the elevator, phones raised. Officers, we work here, one of them said. That's Dr. Hayes. We've known him for years. He runs the surgery department. Cooper pointed at them. Ma'am, I told you to step back. We're standing in a public parking garage. We're allowed to be here. You're interfering with an investigation. We're witnessing an investigation. Martinez shifted his weight. His body cam captured Hayes's badge, the parking sign, Cooper's face. The timestamp read 6:51 a.m. Hayes spoke again, slower this time. Officer Cooper, I need to be in surgery. A child is waiting. His parents are waiting. My surgical team is waiting. Every minute we stand here is a minute that child doesn't have. If you're really a doctor, you'll have no problem waiting while I verify. I've offered you 3 ways to verify. You've refused all of them. I verify on my timeline. A man in a business suit emerged from a silver Honda. He stopped when he saw the scene. Hayes in scrubs, 2 officers, phones recording. Dr. Hayes. Hayes turned his head slightly. Yes. You saved my daughter's life 3 years ago. Car accident. You operated for 7 hours. Cooper stepped toward the man. Sir, move along. Is there a problem? Move along now. The man pulled out his phone. Another recording device. Another angle. Hayes looked directly at Cooper. You've refused to verify my credentials through official channels. You've dismissed valid identification without cause. You've ignored witness testimony from hospital staff. You're violating hospital security protocol, which requires verification through central dispatch before any detention. I'm following my training. Your training requires verification. You're refusing to verify. I'm conducting an investigation. An investigation requires reasonable suspicion. What's your reasonable suspicion? Cooper's jaw tightened. You were in an area where you didn't belong. I was in my assigned parking spot. Anyone can park anywhere. No, hospital staff park in assigned spots. Visitors park in visitor lots. That's policy, the policy you're supposed to enforce. Martinez spoke quietly. Randall, his badge is showing up in the system. He swiped in at 6:43. It's in the log. Cooper ignored him. Sir, I'm going to need you to come with me to the security office. Am I being detained? Yes. On what grounds? Trespassing. Trespassing on hospital property where I work, in my assigned parking spot. That's correct. 4 cameras mounted in the garage corners recorded from different heights. Martinez's body cam captured Cooper's profile. 3 phones held by witnesses documented the scene at ground level. The business suit, the 2 nurses, a woman in scrubs who had emerged from the elevator. Every angle covered, every word documented. 360 degrees of evidence. Hayes took a breath. Officer Cooper, I want to be very clear. I am not resisting. I am complying. But I'm stating for the record for all cameras present that this detention is unlawful. You have refused verification. You have violated procedure, and a child is waiting for surgery while you refuse to do your job. Cooper reached for his handcuffs. Cooper had one job: verify. He refused. If you think this is profiling, not procedure, comment below. Let's see if I'm alone. The handcuffs emerged from Cooper's belt with a metallic click. You're being detained for trespassing on hospital property. Hayes didn't move, didn't resist, didn't argue. He turned slowly, hands moving behind his back without being told. 34 years had taught him that compliance was survival. I am complying under duress. I am Dr. Marcus Hayes, chief of surgery at this hospital. I have a 12-year-old patient in operating room 7 waiting for emergency surgery. This detention is unlawful. I want this statement on record for all recording devices present. The metal closed around his wrists. The sound echoed across the concrete garage. One of the nurses gasped. Martinez's body cam captured the moment. Timestamp 6:54 a.m. The man in the business suit stepped forward. Wait, stop. That's Dr. Hayes. Cooper turned. Sir, step back. Dr. Hayes saved my daughter's life 3 years ago. Car accident on Route 280. 7-hour surgery. She walks today because of him. Sir, I won't tell you again. Step back. You're arresting a doctor in his own parking spot. He's being detained for investigation. Move back now or you'll join him. The man raised his phone higher. His voice carried across the garage. Everyone's seeing this. They're detaining Dr. Hayes, chief of surgery, in his own parking spot. A woman in scrubs emerged from the elevator. She saw Hayes in handcuffs and froze. Dr. Hayes, what's happening? Cooper's voice sharpened. Ma'am, clear the area. I'm a surgical nurse. I work with Dr. Hayes. Why is he in handcuffs? That's not your concern. It absolutely is my concern. We have a patient waiting. Hayes spoke over his shoulder, calm, despite the metal around his wrists. Officer, my surgical team is waiting. The anesthesiologist has already put the patient under. Every minute I'm not there increases risk. You should have thought about that before you trespassed. I didn't trespass. I parked in my assigned spot. That's what we're investigating. You're not investigating. You're detaining without verification. Cooper's hand remained on Hayes's arm. Martinez stood 3 feet back, body cam recording face uncertain. Randall, Martinez said quietly, maybe we should, I've got this. Minutes passed, 6:57 a.m., 6:59 a.m., 7:02 a.m. The woman in scrubs was on her phone. Yes, I need to speak to hospital security. There's a situation in parking level 3. Dr. Hayes has been detained by campus security. Yes, Dr. Hayes, the chief of surgery. Cooper's radio crackled. Unit 12 hospital security is asking for a status update on level 3. Cooper keyed his radio. Situation under control. Subject detained for verification. Copy. Hospital directors requesting immediate clarification. Tell them I'll provide clarification when the subject is processed. 7:05 a.m. The stairwell door burst open. A woman in business clothes, hospital ID badge, swinging from her neck, ran toward them. Dr. Hayes. Cooper stepped between them. Ma'am, stop. She stopped, breathing hard. I'm Sarah Chen, hospital receptionist. Dr. Hayes, operating room 7, has been calling. The surgical team is asking where you are. The patient's family is asking for you. Hayes's voice remained steady. Tell them I've been detained in the parking garage. Tell them to prepare Dr. Rodriguez as backup. Dr. Rodriguez is in surgery already. You're the only thoracic surgeon available. Cooper's grip on Hayes's arm tightened. Ma'am, step back. Officer, do you understand what you're doing? There's a child waiting for surgery. Dr. Hayes is the only surgeon who can perform this procedure. I'm conducting an investigation. An investigation of what he's the chief of surgery. His name is on the parking sign. His badge is registered in our system. Martinez pulled out his phone. His fingers moved across the screen. He stepped closer to Cooper, voice low. Randall, I'm looking at the hospital security database. Dr. Marcus Hayes, chief of surgery, badge number 0047, swiped into the building at 6:43 a.m. His vehicle is registered. License plate MD-001. This is him. Cooper's face didn't change. Anyone can register a vehicle. His employee photo matches. His badge access shows he enters this building every day. Weekdays at 6:45 a.m. for the past 8 years. Then we verify and release. We should verify now. 7:09 a.m., 12 minutes since the handcuffs closed. The crowd had grown. The 2 nurses, the business suit man, the surgical nurse, the receptionist, a maintenance worker, a security guard from another floor, two visitors who'd emerged from the elevator, 15 people, 15 witnesses, four garage cameras, Martinez's body cam, six phones raised. Martinez whispered again, "Randall, this is on camera, all of it. We need to release him now." Cooper's hand finally moved. The key turned in the handcuffs. The metal opened. Hayes brought his hands forward. Red marks circled both wrists. He rubbed them once briefly, then stopped. He turned to face Cooper. No anger, no relief, just a steady gaze of someone who had been right from the beginning. "Officer Cooper, your badge number is 447. Officer Martinez, your badge number is 512. I'll be filing a formal complaint with hospital administration, hospital security, and the city's civilian review board. All footage from this interaction will be preserved as evidence." Cooper said nothing. Hayes looked at Sarah Chen. "Call OR7. Tell them I'm on my way." He walked toward the stairwell, scrub still clean, badge still clipped to his chest, wrists still bearing the marks of handcuffs that never should have touched him. He didn't look back. Cooper stood in the parking garage, four cameras above, Martinez beside him, 15 witnesses in a semicircle, every phone still recording. The parking sign above the empty spot read Dr. Marcus Hayes, Chief of Surgery. The license plate on the Lexus read MD-001. The timestamp on every camera read 7:11 a.m., 18 minutes. 18 minutes from first contact to release. 18 minutes that would cost Cooper everything. Hayes reached operating room 7 at 7:14 a.m., 29 minutes late. The surgical team had kept the 12-year-old boy stable under anesthesia waiting. The surgery took 4 hours. Collapsed lung, internal bleeding. The kind of trauma that required steady hands and 34 years of experience. At 11:20 a.m., Hayes walked into the waiting room. The boy's parents stood when they saw him. "Your son is stable. The surgery went well. He'll recover fully." The mother hugged him. The father shook his hand, tears in his eyes. "Thank you. Thank you for saving our boy." Hayes didn't mention the parking garage, didn't mention the handcuffs, didn't mention the 18 minutes he'd lost while their son waited on a table. He went to his office and filed a complaint. Hospital Director Janet Morrison received the complaint at 1:15 p.m. She pulled the security footage immediately. 4 camera angles, 26 minutes of documentation. She watched Hayes show his badge, watched Cooper dismiss it, watched Hayes point to the parking sign with his own name, watched Cooper call it irrelevant, watched the handcuffs close around the wrists of her chief of surgery. She called her legal team. "This is indefensible." By 3:00 p.m., hospital security had launched an internal review. They pulled Cooper's personnel file. 3 years of employment, 7 formal complaints. All 7 involved Black or Hispanic staff members. 4 doctors, 2 nurses, 1 administrative director. 6 complaints had been dismissed after internal review, written up as misunderstandings, filed away, forgotten. 0 complaints involved white staff members. The pattern was undeniable. Martinez's body cam footage was preserved as evidence. All 15 witness statements were documented. The business suit man who'd had his daughter's life saved. The 2 nurses from the night shift. The surgical nurse. The receptionist. The maintenance worker. Every person who had watched a doctor get handcuffed in his own parking spot. Their statements matched, word for word, camera angle for camera angle. On Thursday morning, the Department of Justice Civil Rights Division received a referral from the hospital's legal team. Federal investigators opened a case file. They requested all footage, all witness statements, all personnel records. They found the social media accounts, Cooper's personal Facebook, posts shared from anti-immigration groups, comments about diversity hires and affirmative action doctors, Screenshots were preserved as evidence. They found the text messages, conversations with other security officers, jokes about profiling the right people, complaints about urban professionals who don't belong in hospital parking garages. Everything documented, everything preserved, everything admissible. Friday afternoon, Cooper was called into Morrison's office. His union representative sat beside him. The hospital's legal counsel sat across the table. Morrison read from a prepared statement. Officer Cooper, after a thorough review of the incident on Wednesday, December 14th, and a comprehensive audit of your employment history, the hospital has determined that your actions constitute gross violation of hospital policy, discriminatory conduct, and failure to follow established verification procedures. Your employment is terminated effective immediately. Cooper's union representative objected, started to argue. Morrison cut him off. The evidence is on camera from 4 angles. His badge was valid. His parking spot was assigned. His vehicle was registered. He offered verification through dispatch. You refused. Then you handcuffed the chief of surgery while a child waited in the operating room. She slid a folder across the table. 7 complaints in 3 years, all involving minority staff, 0 involving white staff. The pattern speaks for itself. Mo Cooper left the building at 4:35 p.m. 3 years of employment ended. Security badge confiscated. Access revoked. The Essex County Prosecutor's Office received the case file the following Monday. 2 prosecutors reviewed the evidence. Criminal charges were being considered. Unlawful detention. A doctor handcuffed without cause in his own workplace. Deprivation of rights under color of authority. Cooper had used his position to detain someone he'd refused to verify through proper channels. Reckless endangerment. An 18-minute delay while a child lay on an operating table. The prosecutors watched the footage, watched Hayes show his badge, watched Cooper dismiss it, watched the handcuffs close while 15 witnesses recorded. One prosecutor looked at the other. This is prosecutable. The investigation continued. Federal civil rights charges were added to the potential state charges. Cooper's pattern of behavior elevated the case beyond a single incident. He had targeted black professionals for 3 years. 7 documented complaints, likely more that were never filed. How many doctors had he stopped? How many nurses? How many staff members who didn't file complaints because they thought nothing would change? Hayes had filed. Hayes had the documentation. Hayes had the cameras. Hayes had the witnesses. Hayes had won. Cooper profiled a doctor for 18 minutes while a child waited in surgery. He lost his job. Is that enough? Or should there be criminal charges? Comment below. I want to know where you stand. The footage remained preserved. The investigation remained open. And Cooper's career in security and law enforcement, in any position of authority, was over. 18 minutes had cost him everything. The hospital settled 3 months later. $3.8 million paid to Dr. Marcus Hayes for unlawful detention, civil rights violations, and professional humiliation. Hayes didn't keep the money. He donated the entire settlement to establish the Hayes Medical Scholarship Fund. Full tuition for black medical students pursuing surgical specialties. The first class of recipients began their studies the following fall. The hospital implemented new protocols. All security officers must now verify credentials through central dispatch before any detention. No exceptions, no judgment calls, no profiling disguised as investigation. Cooper's case became mandatory training. Every new security hire watches the footage. 4 camera angles, 18 minutes. A doctor in handcuffs while a child waited in surgery. The training asks one question: what should Cooper have done differently? The answer takes 10 seconds verified through dispatch. Hayes still works at the hospital. Still chief of surgery. Still parks in the same spot under the sign that bears his name. Still arrives at 6:45 a.m. Still saves lives. He doesn't talk about that Wednesday morning unless asked. When he does, he keeps it brief. It happened. The system corrected it. I moved on. But the red marks on his wrist took 3 days to fade. Cooper no longer works in hospital security, no longer works in any security position, no longer works in law enforcement. 18 minutes cost him his career, his reputation, his future in any job that requires trust. He profiles now only in his own mind where cameras can't record and witnesses can't testify. But here's the question that stays: how many black professionals get stopped without Hayes's advantages, without the badge, without the witnesses, without the cameras, without the resources to fight back? Hayes had armor, a medical degree, a chief of surgery title, 34 years of credibility, 15 witnesses, 4 cameras, federal investigators who cared. Most people don't have that armor. Most people comply, get released, and never file a complaint because they assume nothing will change. Most people don't have $3. 8 million settlements and scholarship funds and protocol changes named after their case. Hayes won because the system couldn't ignore the evidence. But the system ignored Cooper's pattern for 3 years before Hayes forced it to look. If you believe credentials should matter more than skin color like this video, if you want more stories where justice actually happens, subscribe to this channel. If you know someone who needs to hear this story, share it with them. Because Hayes won, but most people don't have his resources. Next week, what happens when a federal judge gets pulled over for driving suspiciously in his own neighborhood? The officer had no idea who he'd just stopped. You won't believe what the judge did next.